one thing that we're all always concerned about and have had talked about a lot here at NORC is election integrity and making sure that people who are supposed to be able to vote, like U.S. citizens and other qualifications, are the ones that are voting. And one thing we're going to talk about, I think, when we resume our meetings in the fall, is we're going to talk about some improprieties that happened in this last election with people that were non-citizens that voted. And it did happen. It happened on a larger scale than what was reported, and I've talked to Ruth Johnson about that. But fortunately, we've got the majority back in the Michigan House of Representatives, and we're very fortunate to have some really good people. And come on up here, Brian. We happen to have the floor majority leader here with us, who's going to try to put a referendum on the ballot in this coming election, which takes probably about 450,000 signatures to do it, but this is where it starts. So I'd like everybody to welcome State Rep Brian Posthumus right here. Thank you.
Can I pull this off?
Yeah. You have to talk close.
All right, we're going to do, can you hear me?
Yeah, you have to talk close to it.
Oh, I have to, am I close enough? Ooh, did I break it? I broke it.
Oh.
Huh?
All right, are we back? Are we back? Yes, we're back. All right, Brian Posthumus.
So apparently I'm not supposed to hit the off button. Did anybody else get a mental picture of 800 yard signs getting loaded up into a Honda CR-V and then unloaded? Right? Like, I mean, that's I just got the mental image of a clown car, like, you know, like 17 clowns coming out of a car. Well, so I always love coming down to Oakland County. By the way, I'm Representative Brian Posthumus. I am the majority floor leader in the House of Representatives, which is a lot better than my title was like 5 months ago when I was the minority floor leader. Yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah. And I got to say, you all here in Oakland County are represented by some phenomenal members of the legislature, like across the board, right? Like Mike Harris, you don't get many. Yeah, I'll clap for him too. You don't get many people with the passion for public safety that Mike Harris has, or the experience and knowledge, or Donnie Steele. I'll tell you what, there's nobody in the state of Michigan that worked harder to ensure that she turned a very difficult seat to win into one that we know that she's going to come back cycle after cycle. And then, gosh, I started naming them all. Now I'm going to forget some. You know, and Josh Shriver is, you're hard pressed to find another. You'll be hard pressed to find a man of conviction and as deep faith as you have with Josh Shriver. All right, who am I missing? Is there any? Yeah, am I missing anybody? I feel like I'm missing somebody. Oh, Mark Tisdall. How did I miss Mark? Oh, and Matt Maddock. All right, let me go with Mark Tisdall. By the way, Mark Tisdall is like the smartest man on the planet. I was asked to be on a panel talking about tariffs, and I said, as long as I can do it with Mark Tisdall, because he's going to make me sound smart, because he can just talk about some things, and then I can just latch on to that. And then Matt Maddock, same thing with Josh. The driven conviction about what they believe in is paramount to what we do in Lansing. I don't know if you all know, but Matt Maddock has been named the vice chair of Appropriations Committee. If I'm a Democrat, I'm scared, right? Like, he's been talking about making sure that we hold government accountable and be fiscally responsible since he got elected first 6 years ago. So you all are incredibly blessed for the members that are representing you in Lansing. Now, I say all that to say, let me start here. After I talk for 5 minutes, let me start here. So let me start with a couple of foundational, fundamental beliefs that I hold. Number one, I believe that the right to vote is a fundamental function of our democracy. I believe that the right to vote is also a critically important civic duty. It is a duty and a right and a responsibility, all three in one. It's not just a right, it is also a civic duty and a responsibility, one that we should feel honored and blessed and privileged to be able to do. I also believe that it should be easy to vote but hard to cheat. And so when you put all of those things together, when you put the fact that voting is a right and we should make it easy to vote legally, when you put together that combined with the fact that it should be hard to cheat, but it's a civic duty, it makes you think about, all right, how can we protect the right to vote, protect the integrity of our elections, and enhance the civic duty that we all feel when we do it. And so for the last little while, I've been trying to think about, probably a couple years specifically, on this specific issue. I've been trying to think about, how can we do that? Well, you all know that a foreign national, actually 16 foreign nationals now, according to Jocelyn Benson, have voted in our election in 2024. What's interesting about that, 8 months ago, Jocelyn Benson was saying emphatically, only U.S. citizens are voting in our elections, and foreign nationals do not vote in our elections. That was 8 months ago. A month ago, she was saying only one foreign national voted in our election. And then just a couple weeks ago, she announced, my internal personal performance review has indicated that it's actually 16 individuals. Now, I will say, I think that's a step in the right direction. Her doing an internal personal review of her own performance, I think is a step in the right direction, although it's not quite as thorough and robust as what the other states have done when they've audited their elections, when they had the U.S. government come in and utilized the databases with Homeland Security and Social Security and everything that the federal government has at their disposal, along with the state. You know, Jocelyn Benson just used what we have access to here in the state. So I will say, while that was a step in the right direction, we still don't know how many people actually did. We still don't know. Like that fundamentally, there is no way in Michigan that we will know. Now, I will say, foreign nationals voted in our elections. Those votes counted, and that's wrong. I believe that only U.S. citizens should vote in our elections, and photo ID should be required when casting your ballot. Nearly 85% of the population in the United States agree with that statement. Nearly 85% of the population. 83% for U.S. citizenship only voting, and 84% for photo ID when casting your ballot. So in the legislature, my colleagues and I, led by Representatives Ann Bolin, Jada Boyer, Rochelle Smith, and myself, sponsored a constitutional amendment. There are 3 ways in Michigan to amend the Constitution. I don't know if you know that. There are 3 ways. Constitutional Convention, and then legislation is what we're trying to do right now in the House. Now, we're going to stop on number 2. So with number 2, to do it by legislation, it requires 2/3 of the vote of the House, and then 2/3 of the Senate, and then it skips the governor, goes to the ballot, where it will require 50% plus 1. Now, Jocelyn Benson, and in fact, pretty much any elected Democrat in Lansing that you ask, will tell you that they believe that only U.S. citizens should vote. Jocelyn Benson also has finally admitted that there is a loophole in our election system created by the Democrats that allow foreign nationals to vote. And yet, for whatever reason, Jocelyn Benson will emphatically disagree with our constitutional amendment to require that only U.S. citizens vote and photo ID is required. I don't understand it. It boggles my mind. That being said, so since they all say that they believe, that they agree with the sentiment, right? Since they all say that, I am holding out hope that our Democrat colleagues in the House and the Democrats in the Senate will join with us. We're going to give them the opportunity to join with us to secure our elections by ensuring that only U.S. citizens vote. While I'm holding out hope, I'm not holding my breath. And so that brings us to the third way to amend the Constitution, which is what most of you are all probably most familiar with, and that's the petition drive, where it will require 441,000, I believe, valid signatures, which means I have to collect about 650,000 signatures, and it's going to cost probably $8 million. Now, I will say, this might be the first and only time a politician will ever stand in front of you and say, I'm not going to ask you for money. Like, that's not why I'm here. I'm not asking you for money. But what I am doing, I am asking you to go to the website, proveitmichigan.com, and sign up to help. Because we need a volunteer army. I'm doing events like this weekly, multiple, 2, 3, 4 every single week. In fact, this is my second one today after being in session in Lansing. This is my second one today. I'm going up to Alpena tomorrow, which is a long drive from Grand Rapids. I'll tell you what, that is a hike. There is no good way to get to Alpena from West Michigan. So anyway, so I'll be up in Alpena. And the reason why I'm doing that is because it is going to take a volunteer army from every corner of our state in order to make it happen. So go to proveitmichigan.com and sign up. Now, what's interesting about this is the main argument that Jocelyn Benson and other Democrats are making against this is that I am trying to disenfranchise married women. Right? I mean, aside from the fact that it's insulting that these individuals will be questioning the competence of married women to actually successfully demonstrate that they are legal or U.S. citizens, aside from that, either they are blatantly lying to the public or they haven't actually read the constitutional amendment. One of those two things is true, because you can't actually say that honestly and believe it and have read and understood the constitutional amendment, because the fact of the matter is anybody who's ever registered to vote already doesn't have to do anything. You're our did I turn it off again?
No.
Oh, not good.
It just does that.
Now I turned it off.
Shake it.
It's not you.
There we go. If you've already registered to vote, you're registered to vote. Now the onus is on the government. Now the government has to utilize the resources that are available to them to verify your citizenship. And if they can't do that, then there's a system by which you are removed. But you can actually prove it still, and then you're good. So it's just new registrations. So I don't understand how that's any more difficult. And plus, on top of that, any individual that was born in Michigan, all of the documentation is housed at the state level. Any individual that changed their name due to marriage in Michigan, that information is housed in the state of Michigan. The Secretary of State knows that. But further, the constitutional amendment provides a provision in which the legislature has to create a financial hardship provision. So if you can't afford the documentation necessary, then there will be a provision put in place by the legislature as required by the Constitution that would allow you to get that documentation at no cost, one way or the other. So I say all that to say, the Democrats have no argument against this. This is a no-brainer. 85% of the population, 85% of the population agrees. This is a no-brainer. So with that, I think maybe we can turn it over for questions for a few minutes. Oh, wow, that was quick. Let's go with you. Oh, hold on.
Hold it. Oh, we like to do things a certain way here at Norton.
Oh, my apologies.
So if anybody has questions, if you just come over here and line up, and we got a second microphone. And
it's a lot more organized than a lot of the other organizations I go to. So this is good.
Okay, first question.
Okay. As of about 2 weeks from now, Real ID is becoming a real thing, finally, since 2005. And there's people now I'm seeing online in Michigan who've never heard of it. But now with the Real ID, once you get that, even for people, as you said, who have not registered to vote before, wouldn't that Real ID give them, isn't that proof of citizenship?
That's a great question.
Because people are also using this, married women won't be able to get a Real ID too. And I said, wait a minute, I just heard that before.
That's a great question. So there's some clarification. In Michigan, we have enhanced driver's license, and we have Real IDs. Enhanced driver's license are Real ID compliant, but Real IDs aren't necessarily enhanced driver's license. So it's following with me so far. In order to get an enhanced driver's license, you have to provide documentary proof of citizenship. And so if you have an enhanced driver's license, that will be considered documentary proof of citizenship when registering to vote. Now, 78% of drivers in Michigan have enhanced driver's licenses. So right off the bat, 78% of the population, off the map, like that, not a problem. real ID, in order to get a real ID that is not an enhanced driver's license, you only have to provide documentary proof of legal presence in the United States. So the difference is you do not have to be a U.S. citizen in order to get a real ID, but you do have to be a legal resident here. So if you're here on a green card or a visa, you can get a real ID. And the designations are different, so you can tell the difference between the two.
Okay, thank you. Next question.
I always assumed that it was in the Constitution that you had to be a citizen to vote. What is the loophole?
So in the U.S. Constitution, it is not enshrined in the U.S. Constitution that you have to be a U.S. citizen to vote, but it is state law. Actually, let me rephrase that. It is in the Constitution that you have to be a U.S. citizen to vote, but it is not in the U.S. Constitution that you have to show proof of citizenship to register. That's where the difference is, right? So while you do, in order to vote in Michigan, you legally have to be a U.S. citizen. The problem is there's nothing preventing it, because the loophole that was created was such that due to the
14th?
No, I'll get there. It's coming. The same day registration, right, where you register to vote and vote on the same day. As a result of that, the laws that were written surrounding it, you can just check a box on your registration that says you are a U.S. citizen, and then use a student ID to vote.
Okay.
And so you would have to lie. You would be lying and breaking the law by checking that box to say that you are a citizen, but there's nothing preventing it from happening. Which brings another point here. Whether you believe the University of Michigan student who voted or not, what he says is that he firmly believed that he was legally able to vote. He was a U of M student. He had been here for a while. All of his professors were telling him, you have to go vote. All of the students were telling him to go vote, right? Because that's a thing in our country, right? We're proud of the fact that everybody that legally should, we're proud of the fact that people should vote. And so there's always these get out the vote movements and all these get out the vote pushes. And so he's hearing every day constantly, go vote. He believed he could legally vote. That's what he's saying. He believed that he could legally vote. And so he cast his ballot and committed 3 felony crimes, believing that he didn't commit a crime. My view is, especially for scenarios like that, shouldn't there be guardrails in place from preventing an honest mistake like that, if that was in fact an honest mistake? So that's my view.
Thank you. Next question, Greg.
Yeah, Brian, isn't there a case in front of the Supreme Court right now pertaining to this very issue, requiring
so there are a couple different dynamics. So there are a couple Supreme Court cases right now, none of which, right now there is a push. The reason why I'm struggling to answer this is because there's multiple dynamics. One, there's a case before going through the court process that would essentially overturn all of the ballot initiatives around changing election law, because the U.S. Constitution stipulates that the manner by which elections should be determined has to be determined by the legislature. Obviously, a petition drive is not the legislature, but so that's one. There's another one that just struck down in the state of New York, although I believe it was state Supreme Court. In New York, they passed a law and city ordinances making it legal for non-citizens to vote in state and local elections. Now, they lost because of their state constitution. In California, there are states and in California, there are municipalities that have a similar law that allow non-citizens to vote in their local elections. That is constitutional. That is constitutional. They can allow that for their local elections, but not their federal elections. And so, one of the arguments that the Democrats make is that, well, surely this is only 16 people out of the 6 million people that voted. It's a non-issue. It's so small. Well, the reality is, it's bigger than even if you take that number at face value. Say it is just 16 people. we're not just trying to address those 16 people. We're trying to prevent the fact that there is a push right now to make it legal for U.S. citizens or for non-citizens to vote in our elections. And I fundamentally believe that only U.S. citizens should be able to vote.
Thank you. Next question.
Hi, Brian. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
My question is on enforcement. So we passed the proof of citizenship to vote. I know a little bit about the voter rolls. My question would be, how would that be reflected in the QVF, the voter rolls? In other words, they would have to track and monitor that they did verify that. Is there a provision in this that would say, add this to the voter rolls so that we can audit it?
Great question. So that is not addressed in the constitutional amendment, and that's specifically done. You know, one of the things that's been really frustrating in Michigan specifically, as we get deeper and deeper into all of these constitutional amendments done by petition, we're getting to the point where we are starting to legislate through constitutional amendment. I don't agree with that, right? Like, if you compare, I mean, take the first 10 amendments, take the Bill of Rights to the United States Constitution. I would argue that I haven't compared this, so maybe I'm wrong, but I'm willing to bet that the first 10 amendments to the Constitution is substantially shorter than just the amendment to the Michigan Constitution, the proposal to do absentee voting or no reason absentee voting, early voting, because they're trying to get so prescribed in the Constitution. That's not what the Constitution is for. The Constitution is to be a framework by which you create legislation and laws. So I say all that to say the teeth for that purpose needs to be built through legislation. I mean, look at the First Amendment, right? The protections on freedom of speech. That paragraph's that long, you know, and then there are laws to back that up and support it.
Next question.
Hi there, Brian. Thanks for coming. So it seems to me, as I read about political happenings and fraud, it seems like the mail-in ballots are the easiest way to cheat. Like, if I was imagining that I was going to cheat, it seems like the mail-in ballot would be the quickest, easiest, no problem way to do it. Lots of opportunity because these things are mailed out and nobody's looking at you and checking your ID. So that seems all logical to me. It seems like the most likely place to fix things and move to a one-day situation like we used to have. I understand, you can tell me if I'm accurate about this, that there was this, I don't remember it, but I read about it, that it was a constitutional amendment that was passed in 2018. And that's what allowed the, people to choose to do mail-in ballots. And so it seems to me that's the source of the beginning of the problem. It was only 7 years ago. Kind of ties in with the rise of this problem. Is there any movement to try to rescind that constitutional amendment?
That's a great question. So in Michigan, we've had the ability to mail in absentee ballots for as long as I can remember. What changed, the change that you're talking about was the creation of no reason absentee ballots. Prior to that, you had to have a reason, whether you're out of state, whatever, you're out of the country, medical, you had to have a reason for absentee ballots. And that constitutional provision made it such that there was no reason absentee voting. Now, where I wholeheartedly agree with you is the thought process that probably the most vulnerable part of our system is in mail-in voting. That's the beauty of this constitutional amendment, is it addresses to the very greatest extent, while leaving it intact how it is, addresses to the greatest extent possible the fraud that can be done, right? So if you are already verifying your citizenship ahead of time. When you register to vote, your citizenship is verified. Right there, you're good to go. The second piece of it is ID when you cast your ballot, whether it's in person or whether it's absentee. Now, there's different ways to do that. When you're in person, you can just show your photo ID and you're good to go. For the absentee ballots, on the inside, and this is going to be prescribed a little bit more in law, but essentially, on the inside of the envelope, you will write in either the last 4 digits of your social security number or your voter ID number or your driver's license number, or you can even put a copy of your driver's license in, like a picture, a copy of it in the envelope. And that's how you prove, That's how you verify your identity for mail-in, for the mail-in ballots. Now, there's never going to be a system we put in place that can completely 100% eradicate any chances of fraud, right? It's just, you just can't. So the question is, how do we get as close to that as humanly possible without negatively impacting the right to vote? And so that's why we're trying to address this. And so the biggest issue that we've seen with mail-in ballots is, prior to a month ago, we had hundreds of thousands of names on the qualified voter file that should have been removed, and they weren't. They are now. It's amazing. Once you put a little bit of pressure on the Secretary of State and she loses in court a couple times, and then you put out a ballot initiative talking about cleaning the voter rolls, all of a sudden she wipes out 319,000 names from the qualified voter file. It's amazing. But anyway, so when all of these extra names were on the qualified voter file, and then they did this push in 2020 in order to do the ballot requests, and you're not verifying the identity on the ballot requests, and you're weakening the signature verification process, that's where you get vulnerabilities. So if we have this, if we re-strengthen through the Supreme Court the signature verification process, which happened, and you clean out the voter rolls through the Supreme Court process, which did happen, and you require moving forward a provision that requires the Secretary of State in the Constitution to continue to clean the voter rolls, which is one of the things the constitutional amendment does, and then you require ID when voting absentee, it strengthens that process. Do you follow me?
All right, we have a last question here. Marge?
Sorry, this is a quick one. When your birthday comes, you get a little paper to renew your driver's license, okay? Are they auditing? You just had said about the data. Are they doing a data cleanse to make sure that I'm a citizen? Because I didn't have to show a driver's license. I mean, I didn't have to show a birth certificate or anything.
So that I don't know if the Secretary of State's office is doing that. One of the things that what I do know is that when somebody gets a new ID, I don't know about renewal, right? You were talking about renewal, so
it had the real ID. I had the white star on it.
So that means it's real ID compliant. It might be enhanced, or it might just be a basic ID. But when you apply for a new standard of license, so if you get a license or an ID for the very first time, or you go from a basic generic ID to an enhanced ID, and you have to demonstrate and show documentary proof of citizenship or an enhanced license or legal presence in the case of a real ID, the Secretary of State does not, my understanding is the Secretary of State does not keep record of the documentary proof that you showed, but they do document it, or they do note it, I believe, in the motor vehicle file. What, driver motor vehicle file? I can't keep all the names straight. QVF, VMV, I don't know. But they do document it.
Thank you.
Okay, we have another last question here.
Hi there. Okay, I've went through your immigration process. So as a Canadian citizen, when I came into the United States, I had to show my passport and I had to show birth certificate. Once I show my birth certificate in any kind of form to anything, I get flagged because I'm not a citizen. But when it comes to the Secretary of State, when you're talking about your real ID, that has no bearings on it at all. Because I'm going in there and I'm showing them that I'm not a citizen. I mean, yes, I'm not a citizen, but I still get a real ID. So that does not give you any indication of citizenship.
Right. So you have real ID and you have enhanced driver's license.
Right.
Now, enhanced driver's license is real ID compliant, but they are two different things. For a real ID, you only have to show documentary proof of legal status or legal presence in Michigan. So you can be here on a green card and get a real ID, or on a visa and get a real ID. But in order to get an enhanced driver's license, which is different, you have to show documentary proof of citizenship, passport, birth certificate. And this is where it gets comical about the disenfranchising women thing, right? You go into the airport and you see Jocelyn Bentz's face plastered all over the place promoting real ID, right? Now, and you go onto her website promoting real ID. And what are the requirements in order to get an enhanced driver's license? Well, birth certificate or passport, and if your name doesn't match your birth certificate or passport because you got married, documentary proof of name change. Like, this is what she's advocating for. So it's good enough for that, but not good enough for what we do.
Okay? Very good.
Did I answer your question?
Well, not really, to be honest, because again, it's not, majority of people do not have enhanced driver's license. The majority is just your real ID.
So 78% of Michigan drivers have enhanced driver's licenses.
Really?
Yep. I was surprised by that, too.
I'm impressed on that one, too. Okay, fair enough.
Okay?
Thank you.
Very good. Brian Posthumus, thank you so much.
Thank you
for
all
coming.
very much.
Hey, just a quick question. What's the timing on the, of getting the petitions out? You have to go to the website, proveitmichigan.com, which we have on the projector. What is the timing?
So that's a great question. I should have actually brought that up. So a couple things on timing. Number one, I expect the vote on the House floor for the joint resolution that would amend the Constitution to be next week. So that's the House floor one. I'm expecting it next week. If not next week, probably the week after that. But my plan is next week. So we just got approval from the Board of Canvassers for the language on the petition drive last Friday. So we're good to go there. Legally, we are approved to start collecting signatures. We haven't started yet, purposely. We're trying to build the grassroots army that we are going to be utilizing in order to do it. My expectation is within the next 3 weeks, we'll have petitions out ready to go.
Excellent. Thank you, Brian.
Sign up on the website, proveitmichigan.com. If you want updates, they'll be there. Follow me on X as well. You'll get updates that way too.
Great. Thank you so much.